On this episode of Just the Tip, we're talking about descriptive passages and keeping it short and sweet.
Hello, I'm Nick Hindmarsh.
And I'm Damien Humphreys.
We are
in Deep Crit.
in Deep Crit and just at the tip of this very weighty subject. And I don't know, what are we going to say about it? What is the tip that's so short and sweet? And descriptive passages. I could go on for quite some time and then I'd lose you. I think that's our point, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. Box text is a real problem for this.
Yeah.
So some games and some modules rely more on box text. Published modules tend to rely on areas of box text. Some of them can be really long.
Yes.
A module that we will be reviewing in the future, that Luke is currently running, had a really long piece of box text that was, we'll come on to it in our review, but it was full of purple prose and it was
unnecessary in its length. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And
cut to the point is our tip,
yeah.
I suppose. That particular piece of box text, so I don't have to read it in its entirety, but we're going to be reviewing it, so that's my excuse for reading it in its entirety. My advice to anyone would be, when you see a great big chunk of box text, take out of it what is important information for the players. See about whether you can seed those over more role-playing moments instead of just condensing it and firing at them in what we call in the writing industry an info dump. Without the fingers, because it's not necessary to quotation marks. It's an info dump, and it's generally regarded as a bad thing. And I think in role playing, it probably is the same, because I've got some brilliant GMs that I play with, who I learn a lot from. And if any of them start speaking for more than about 5 to 10 minutes on a subject, I'm afraid they lose me. Not because there's any problem with them, but because I'm in my player head. Yeah. If I want to go to a lecture to learn about something, I'm in my listening to a lecture mode, and my concentration levels will be different. But where I'm expecting to get on with it and get in the action of role playing, because I'm the player, I'm in the spotlight, or should be. GMs will lose
Absolutely.
my attention span.
I think that's you kind of hit it there. So it's our game. We're all playing. But as a games master, I need to allow my players to have the time in the spotlight, and some players like that more than others, but to allow each of them to have that moment and those times in the spotlight. My favourite sessions running a game are the ones where I say hardly anything at all.
Yeah. It's my favourite session as well, when you're hardly saying anything.
My favourite sessions are the ones you don't play in.
I deserve that.
So I kind of wrote my own Eberron campaign. And I am guilty of this. In the first session of that Eberron campaign, I had like a page and a half info dump for the players about where they were after the last war ended, and kind of their last kind of 3 years. So for 3 years of stuff happening, a page and a half is probably not too long. But thinking back, I probably now would have cut that up into smaller sections to be revealed at different times throughout the game.
Yeah.
And not necessarily all in one go at the beginning, because I don't think everybody took it on board, and I don't think everybody remembers.
The reason why it's a bad thing in writing is it breaks immersion, which of course this bath taking concept that we keep going on about. Cleanliness is good. The fact that you are telling someone all this stuff that they should know is not the way to impart information in a narrative. In a narrative, you do it through the experience of characters. They encounter this situation, and as the character encounters it, they already know all about it, but the reader learns about it for the first time through the character's reaction, through the action, a little bit through the dialogue. We can get into a very lengthy conversation about what I call, thanks to a friend who's introduced me to the idea, as you know, Bob dialogue where someone is there as a mouthpiece just to tell you about what should be an info dump. Very bad. Don't do it. What do you do to set the scene in a play, Damien, or in filming? Like, does someone have to come and say, in a world where, I don't know, where whatever his name, Kevin Costner can still act in Waterworld, then everything is wet.
Waterworld's an entirely different discussion for an entirely different channel. So you do it with setting, with the set. Sometimes you may do that with no set at all, actually. In which kind of the place doesn't really matter, I suppose. But you do it through the action, right?
Yeah.
So some films, like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so that starts with Galadriel's voiceover of what's happened before, right? The previously in Middle Earth kind of section, as I like to call it. Which works in that works kind of well in that element if you're completely new to the whole Lord of the Rings, to the whole of Middle Earth, and you're a completely new viewer going into this.
The point is, does Tolkien? So the books. Does Tolkien do that in the books? Okay, there is Gandalf doing a lot of telling of what's happened, because Frodo or Bilbo or the pony called Bill doesn't know what's happened in the past, so Gandalf has to be the voice of wisdom. But I don't think he does it. I think he does it rather well.
Yeah,
and it isn't all front loaded. You get some kind of action to engage you first.
Yeah.
The film is a very good example of doing it.
With a kind of info dump, and they get away with it in the film. I think they get away with it, but then later on, when they flash back to Smeagol and Deagle, they show that in action.
That's brilliantly done.
Yeah.
I think that they could have done that intro differently. Don't like it. Sorry, hate me for it. I love the Lord of the Rings films. I think there's lots that's great there, but I just don't like that style of intro. I just don't think it was necessary, actually. Yeah. But I understand why they did it, and it was probably a studio exec who goes, "I've never read the book. I don't know what fantasy is. What's this Lord? What's this rings thing?" And so and Kate Blanchett did a really good. I mean, her voiceover of that is fantastic.
So the original edit of Blade Runner, with
monologue
going over the top, which Harrison Ford hated because the way he's delivering it in this awful monotone.
He says he did it the best he could. He says he did, because people have said that he did it deliberately to screw it up, and just because he hated it so much. He says he did it the best he could, and I believe him. Not because he's not a good actor, but because it was not very well thought out or well written. It was just like, so he did the best he could on that. You're right. If you watch Blade Runner and you see the voiceover, if you need someone holding your hand through a film that really is about making you think. Yeah.
So we kind of wandered off the topic a little bit into films, but it works the same way. When I'm acting and playwriting, writing books is about telling the story through action and revealing anything that needs to be known through dialogue and through action.
Yeah.
And the same should be true of role-playing, I think.
Is there a secret cult in the town the town has a reputation for having this not so secret cult that likes to put substances in the local beer that causes you to worship their dragon or whatever it is, and it's information that the players know up front. Then you can simply have a scene with them going into the tavern and someone saying, "Would you like a pint of dragon stout?" And one of the customers who's be like, "No, thanks. I don't worship dragons. I'm not drinking that. I'll just have the untainted." You don't need to have a long exposition about what I've just told you. And I'm sorry, that's a weird example, but I just pulled it out of the top of my bizarre imagination. Yes. So this is a bit of this is possibly a little bit more than just the tip. This is a little bit more of a lengthy analysis, but the point is,
we've done a lengthy analysis on keeping it short.
Yes. K.I.S.S is a good thing. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
It also could be keep it short, stupid, or keep it simple and short. Whatever you want it to be. There we are.
If I'm running a game and I'm doing more than 20% of the talking at the table, I'm doing too much talking.
I think if I'm running a game and anyone is doing more than their share of the talking by an excessive amount, there might be a problem.
Yeah.
But definitely if it's me, you can imagine that's quite a challenge because both of us not exactly afraid of talking. But I think it also, so interestingly, as a player, excessively describing what you're doing probably is the same thing.
Yeah.
Do it. I jump like this. I run like that. Bang. Okay.
Yeah.
Role play it. Be in the mood. You don't have to set the scene, but we'll keep it shorter and stop there.